Ladies and gentlemen, a little while back on this channel, I casted an absolutely wild tournament finale match where we saw one of the absolute greatest players of all time, Voice of Akasha, going up against someone named Rip. And in this matchup, no one really thought that Voice of Akasha would lose because Voice of Akasha never loses. He's like one of those players that just wins everything. And yet, Rip came into this finale and he beat him, which immediately placed him on the map. Now, some people, I saw some comments saying, he just got a little lucky, Voice of Akasha just made a little misplay, it was a very volatile matchup. Doesn't necessarily mean Rip is like the greatest of all time. However, ever since that match, Rip has been rising through the ranks rapidly, and he has now become the first player in Advanced Wars history to reach 1800 MMR on Advanced Wars by web. I don't think I can overstate what a massive accomplishment this is. I didn't think it would happen, honestly, because in order to reach this crazy level of MMR, you have to take consistent wins against some of the top players on the site. And furthermore, whenever you do, because the rating gap is so huge between Rip and the number 2 and number 3 and number 4 on the site, only Inkugark really comes close to his level of rating. Whenever you win a match, you only get like 1 or 2 rating points. And if you lose a match, you lose like 40. It's absolutely crazy. So you have to maintain a consistent win streak against some of the best players on the site, and that is what Rip has been doing for the past few months. I went through his match history. It's just W's as far as the eye can see. This guy he does not lose. He has risen to an absolutely insane level now, where he just seems to win every single game that he plays. And I am actually convinced right now that Rip is the best player in the world. I don't really think anyone else can challenge him at the moment. He's going to become the Magnus Carlsen of the Advanced Wars by web community. And to celebrate this insane milestone, I figured that we would take a look at one of his games. I just kind of followed a bunch of his matches, and I saw this one, and it looked really cool. So I figured, you know what? Let's take a look at how an 1800 MMR Advanced Wars plays. So he's up against someone. I've never heard of this guy. His name is Grand. I think that's a Lord of the Rings reference. Now, a funny thing, when you look at a 1482 rated player, like that's normally an absolute monster, right? You get matched up against someone like this, you're in for a hell of a fight. And yet, compared to Rip, he looks so small. It's like 482, Rip is 1800. So it's absolutely amazing to see a 1482 look small by comparison. But still, don't be fooled, this is still an incredibly strong player. So, I figured we'd take a look at this map right here. It is called Butterfly Net. It's in the Fog ladder. This is not a live game, this is a standard match. I don't think Rip plays that much live. I think he's mostly playing Fog. I saw him play a little bit of High Fronts as well, so he's clearly branching out a little bit. But Fog is where he seems to be the most comfortable. It was a High Fronts match where he defeated Voice of Akasha, so he clearly knows how to play that format. But yeah, this is a very complicated map. Lots of pipes here, which makes reinforcement hard. You have like these pipes right here, or these seams, which you can blast through to get a bit of a easier reinforcement path. But it's one of those maps where it's just kind of hard to reinforce immediately, because this base has to go through here, this base has to go through a forest, and then down here, and then this base has to go all the way back here, and possibly through yet another forest. So it is one of those maps that is just hard to reinforce. And as a result, it requires you to think multiple turns ahead. You can't just react to what the opponent is doing, you have to predict what they're doing. If you see a battlecopter and you build an anti-air in response to that battlecopter, this anti-air has to move all the way through all these tiles to get to the center, which means that you can't just react to what your opponent is doing, you have to predict what your opponent is going to do. You can't just build the anti-air, you need to have it ready by the time the battlecopter or bomber shows up. So, and it's an interesting matchup right here, Kindle versus Andy. Kindle recently got a little bit of a buff, so she's considered, she's still tier 3 in Fog, but she's now considered tier 2 in Standard, because her superpower got buffed, which you don't normally see her superpower a lot, but it actually got some pretty insane potential when it is popped. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'd say we just jump into this match, and let us see how Rip plays this game, shall we? Let us begin. So we got Rip in the black trunks over in the top right here, Andy in the red trunks down in the bottom left. Let us see what happens here. So Rip opens up 2 infantry, obviously First thing you want to do is you want to grab this base as soon as possible. And that is what both players are doing right here. I'm just going to call him Grand instead of Grand. Grand is easier to say in a casting format. So both players just here capturing their early airports, their early bases, nothing insane here. Grand does open up a recon. So he's going to try to apply a little bit of early pressure, scout Rip out. Rip opens up a transport. I love to see this, man. 1800 MMR player opening up APC in fog. You love to see it. Transports are not utilized that much, but the fact that Rip is using them, I think shows us something. Now, of course, it could be that Rip saw his opponent was 1400, and maybe he felt confident that he would beat him, so he went a slightly riskier opening. But let me tell you, going APC first is not something we see often these days, and it makes me very happy. And then he goes recon, so he doesn't even go a tank. He goes APC recon, which is a pretty risky opener. It definitely, like, if his opponent is going double or triple tank, that can be punished pretty heavily. Even a player such as Rip might actually be caught unaware with this. So he moves out his recon, and you will see him use that APC to absolute perfection right now, opening up a tank and 2 infantry as well. So you can see that, I'm going to lower the movement value just a little bit. You can see that Grand is moving out with his recon. He's seeing that Rip has reached this area. He's moving out with his tank. Once again, you can see this forest makes reinforcement paths very difficult. Day 7 rolls in. Rip is moving out with his recon and his APC once again, you know, gaining him that early capture advantage, and is bringing his recon with the APC so that he can see everything in the area. There are 2 tanks coming his way though, and he has built his tank over here on the south side. So Rip is kind of vulnerable in this area. So I'm expecting him to build a tank here or here this turn. He goes for an artillery. I mean, the balls of this guy, right? I mean, you know, like, this is a risky opener that Rip is doing right here. APC, recon, tank, artillery. Like, if he goes up against a player who just spams tanks, this could be punished incredibly hard. But again, you do see this sometimes with the top level players. They're just very confident in their play, and they're willing to go more risky openers. This is akin to, you know, if anyway you play StarCraft, this is akin to someone doing like a 3 base opener. You know, like just 3 hatcheries immediately, or like 3 nexuses or 3 command centers. You have no idea if your opponent's going to 6-pull you, right? So it's very risky. And even here, Rip is deciding to go for the interrupt. There is a tank in range, so if he's not careful, he might lose this recon. Of course, he's up against Andy. And Andy probably... So I think one of the reasons why Rip feels confident doing this is because he knows that his opponent has no comm towers. He has no firepower bonuses because he's Andy. So it's not that big of a deal if a tank comes out and strikes his recon. He'll be able to retreat that recon away. But just to be safe, he places his APC in the woods to guard his recon. So you can see Rip is using this APC not only as... And you'll see this throughout the whole fight. Rip is not only using this transport to give himself a capture advantage, he's also using it as a shield in very clever ways. So maybe more pro players should open up transports. I mean, D just has been advocating for transports for a while now. So Grand comes in and, interestingly enough, goes for the infantry instead of the recon. I'm guessing the mentality here is, if he damages the recon is just going to pull back and repair. If he damages the infantry is not going to be able to capture. So Grand going for economic damage here, rather than going for the recon, which he won't be able to kill anyways. I think that's probably a good move. Day 9 rolls in. Rip continues going for the captures. He now goes for the comm tower, which is very important. Comm towers now boost high society superpower. I don't know if it used to do that. I think it does that now with the newest update. So she now gets 3% damage from her comm towers as well as her labs, which she didn't do previously. Builds on anti-air, again, pro players will usually, I think D just taught me this, like on day 9 is probably where you should build your anti-air on most maps, because that means that you can see that Grand has already deployed his battlecopter. So by the time this battlecopter reaches the middle, so will the anti-air, so it'll be ready to ward away. Of course, he needs to make sure he sends it to the correct path. If the battlecopter goes here, and he sends the anti-air down here, for example, that's really bad. Gron scores first blood against Rip, taking out a 2 HP infantry here, no big deal. Has 2 tanks here, backed up by a battlecopter. Builds a recon, anti-air, and artillery, so Gron also building some artillery here, which is good to see. Rip here, taking out, if he had the comm tower, and actually he does. I think that might have been a luck roll. Let me double check that. I think Kindle Recon on City with 1 comm tower is a chance to one-shot. Yep. 94 to 102. So you need a little bit of a high roll. It's like a 30-40% chance to one-shot. So almost, but Rip decided to take the gamble. Didn't quite work out. Oh well, it's fine. But he sees 2 tanks now, so he needs to be careful here. And as you can see, isn't quite able to cover the recon with his artillery. But look at that, continuing to use the APC as a shield. Again, Rip uses this APC beautifully in this matchup, and it really makes me think maybe transport openers are a lot more viable than they have been for the past few years, because transport usage, it's not very high in the pro scene right now. In most of the games that I watch, you almost never see transports, which is very sad. But Gron decides to use his battlecopter to take out Rip's recon, and then he places... But look at that. Perfectly baited right now. Rip knew, probably, that Gron was going to put a tank on the city after killing the recon. And he had he successfully executes the artillery trap to perfection right here. So really playing mind games with his opponents. He knows that pro players like to, it's what D just calls the rule of 3. You kill the unit on the city with 2 units, you place the 3rd unit on the city, so the opponent can get it. But of course, Rip knew that and had an artillery rating. Absolutely masterful play by Rip. So day 11 rolls in. Rip has a slight income lead over his opponent. Nothing super consequential though, but he shoots with his artillery, takes out the tank, and boom, look at that. Kindle boosted city. And the anti-air is coming in to ward away the battlecopter. So really well played by Rip here. He lures his opponent into a trap, continues to use the APC to shield his anti-air in case there's like a tank here. He puts the APC here just to ward it away. And here he's playing mostly defensive. He knows that his opponent might have a lot of infantry here, so he's playing it carefully. Day 11 rolls in. And Gron decides to pull back, as he should. He knows he can't really fight this. Day 12 rolls in. Now it's getting a little bit more heated. We're entering into the mid-game. Rip sends his recon in to scout, see what he can see. And he's playing very carefully. Look at this artillery positioning right now. It is absolutely rock solid. Builds a battlecopter, artillery, and tank. And right now he's just playing defense. He's just seeing where his opponent attacks. Rip is taking a good engagement against his opponent. He knows that. He knows he's slightly ahead now. No need to rush. No need to overextend. He's about 1 tank over his opponent. If we check out the kill to death ratio, we can see... Oh, we don't want to do that. Sorry about that. I forgot that shows the kill death ratio of the entire match. But I think you guys pretty much know how this match is going to go, so maybe it's not that big of a spoiler. So, yeah, by the way, Advanced Rush by Web. Really cool if you fix that, by the way. When you're watching a replay, show the KD for the day that you're viewing. Don't show the whole thing. Like, come on. Come on. You've done so many other great things with the site. Update this place so I can look at KD, like, during the match. Alright. Anyway, recon comes in from Rip here. Wow, look at that. Anti-air versus recon on road, on city. Boom, 1 shot. I actually didn't know that. That's pretty crazy. Is that a luck roll? I have to check this. I think it's a luck roll. Oh, the recon had taken chip damage prior in an infantry. That's why. Because I was like 90 to 99. That didn't seem like... something seemed off to me when I look at that 1 shot. Like, that shouldn't happen. That should be like a 1 HP. But, of course, the recon is damaged. It's like on 93 or 94 HP. It just doesn't show yet. I personally think that a unit should show 9 HP the moment it takes some chip damage. But, you know. Anyway, things are heating up right now. You can see Rip is tacking up to a Neo tank. Very good to do that against Andy. You need a firepower. You need to be able to one-shot Andy's units. Otherwise, they're just going to come back and repair. You can see Grand on the meanwhile has many battlecopters and a medium tank moving through the south. But neither player super willing to commit right now. But Rip decides to actually attack all the way down in the corner here, utilizing this little mountain here to get some vision. And he actually sets up a lot of units for a counterattack here. So he's kind of he's using the corner of the map to his advantage, which is really cool to see. It's hard for his opponent to get a surround if he engages in the bottom right corner. So day 14 rolls in, and Grand decides to go on the counterattack. He moves in, picks off a bunch of infantry units, but at the same time, he's kind of, you know, he himself is hunkering down in a very defensive position here. And he's preparing Rip to attack in the left here. So you can see he too is positioning his artillery and tanks defensively. Day 15 rolls in and Rip continues to brawl. But he's not committing to anything massive right now. He's just taking a few vehicle hits. But Rip is setting up for something quite insane right now. And if you look at his positioning right now, I think you know what Rip is going for. Look at the power meters. He knows that superpower for Andy is very close. He doesn't want to trigger it just yet. But here, Rip is setting up an absolutely massive superpower. He's not popping Urban Blight. He knows that's not going to serve him very well. But High Society is right around the corner. And as I said, ladies and gentlemen, High Society recently got buffed. So it's a lot more potent than it used to be. So here, seemingly, Rip is sacking a battlecopter. And Grand is like, sure, I'll take that. But if you look at Grand's actual vision, it isn't that good. He really needs to put... So, if we actually look at Grand's turn right now, this is probably a big misplay by him. He kills the battlecopter, he kills the infantry, but he doesn't put an infantry in the mountain. He instead goes for the capture. If he had put an infantry in the mountain here, he would have seen this entire force by Rip. But now it's too late. He sees that there are some vehicles here. But now with the battlecopter, I think he truly sees his predicament right now. And he even moves forward a little bit on the left flank. And ladies and gentlemen, as day 16 rolls in for Rip, he shoots with his artillery and pops High Society. This is crazy. How many cities does Rip currently have? 27. And keep in mind, High Society did not used to get bonuses from Labs comm towers. Now it does. So this is an absolutely insane firepower boost for Rip right now. Battlecopter, one-shots. Infantry, one-shots. Recon, one-shots. Tank, kills. Another tank, one-shot! Look at these damage values. Look at that. That would not have happened with the old High Society. That would not have happened. How many labs do we have? 2 labs on the map right now? 2 labs. Yeah, 2 labs and 1 comm tower. Would have... maybe it would have happened. Maybe. Difficult to say. Maybe. I don't know if this actually counts just properties or labs. But yeah, absolutely crazy. Another one shot. Oh my god. You guys want to see damage numbers right now? 223 damage, ladies and gentlemen. 223 damage. That is a very dead medium tank. Boom. Boom. Yeah, can't repair if all your units are dead. And Rip is like, I'll attack on this side as well. One shot. One shot. Almost a one shot. This is crazy, man. Absolutely devastating turn from Rip here. Taking advantage of that High Society. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. And, yeah. he falls. I would have resigned too after a turn like that. So yeah, that was an absolute masterclass on how to play Kindle. Whew. That high society, man, it's scary. And to everyone asking like, oh, why'd they buff it? I mean, keep in mind that all they did was just make it more cartridge accurate. This is how Kindle played on the cartridge. She always got bonuses from labs and com towers. I don't know why Advanced Wars Web didn't do that earlier. But yeah, Rip is showing why he is the absolute undisputed GOAT at the moment. And I think we're going to see a lot more of him going forward. We'll follow his rise, see if he can rise any higher. Will we see 1900 at some point? I sincerely doubt it, not unless we get a big influx of pro players. I think reaching 900 would require Rip to win like literally like 100 games. So, and if he loses one, he like loses 50 rating points immediately. So I think it's going to be a while until we see the first 1900, if it ever happens. I didn't think 1800 would happen, honestly. But absolute joy to watch Rip play, and hoping to see more of him soon. Give this video a like if you enjoy Advanced Wars content. I'll try to cast more pro games moving forward. Voice of Akasha did recently play a finale match against Inkugark, which I definitely should cover as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, my name's been Mangs. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.